A single sentence changed everything that afternoon, slicing through the polite noise of the cafe like fate clearing its throat. She stood there with nervous hands and hopeful eyes and asked him something no one had dared to ask in years. Not since his world had broken apart and rebuilt itself around silence. "Can you pretend to be my date?" And in that moment, the single dad, CEO millionaire, who had mastered boardrooms but failed at loneliness, felt his guarded heart stumble. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and unexpected love, take a second right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Midnight Tales. Your support keeps these stories alive, and you never know which one might change the way you see the world. Arav Kingsley was a man admired from a distance. At 39, he ran one of the fastest-growing tech firms in the city, wore tailored suits that hid the weight of responsibility, and lived in a glass house that echoed with the laughter of only one person, his 8-year-old daughter, Mira. Daytime was his battlefield of meetings, mergers, and numbers climbing higher each quarter. But every evening, he became a father, cooking simple meals, helping with homework, and reading bedtime stories with voices he barely recognized as his own. Since losing his wife in a sudden accident years ago, Arav had trained himself to survive without expecting warmth from the world. Love, he believed, was a luxury he could no longer afford. That afternoon, he had ducked into a quiet cafe near his office, seeking nothing more than a moment of stillness before heading home. That was when he noticed her, standing near the counter, wearing a soft blue dress that looked slightly too hopeful for the tired city. Her name was Isla Monroe, though he would only learn that later. She was not desperate, not dramatic, just visibly anxious, as if courage had been borrowed and might expire at any second. She glanced at her phone, then at him, then finally walked over with a small, trembling smile. Her request came out rushed, as if she feared her own bravery. She explained in fragments that she had told her family she was bringing a date to an important daytime engagement, that she was tired of pity and whispered judgments, and that she only needed someone to stand beside her for a few hours. Arav should have said no. He had 100 reasons ready. Yet something in her honesty, in the way she did not hide her vulnerability, reminded him of a version of himself he had buried. He agreed, telling himself it was just a favor, a harmless role he could step out of afterward. They walked together through sunlit streets, and the city felt strangely different beside her. Isla spoke about her work as a community event coordinator, about caring for her aging father, about how people often underestimated her because she was gentle in a world that rewarded sharpness. Arav listened more than he spoke, surprised by how natural it felt. At the engagement, he watched how her shoulders straightened when she introduced him, how her smile steadied when she felt supported. People treated her differently with him at her side, and that realization stirred something uncomfortable inside him. He saw how easily kindness could change the way the world responded. What was meant to end that afternoon did not. Isla thanked him with sincerity that lingered, and they exchanged numbers for practical reasons. Days passed, then weeks, filled with brief lunches, daylight walks, and conversations that avoided the future, but leaned gently into the present. Arav found himself laughing again, not the polite laugh of meetings, but the unguarded kind that startled him. Mira noticed it first, asking why her father smiled at his phone. When Arav finally introduced Isla as a friend, he watched his daughter warm to her effortlessly, as if children recognize truth faster than adults. But love does not arrive without resistance. Arav's fear grew alongside his feelings. He worried about loss, about bringing someone into Mira's life only to risk breaking it again. Isla carried her own doubts, sensing the walls he kept polished and firm. She never demanded more, but her quiet acceptance became its own kind of question. One afternoon, under a bright sky, the weight of unspoken emotions pressed too hard. Arav pulled back, claiming work, responsibility, timing. Isla listened without anger, only sadness, and nodded as if she had expected this ending all along. When she walked away, the daylight felt harsher than any night he remembered. The change came slowly, through absence. Arav realized that success felt hollow when there was no one to share it with. Mira asked why Isla no longer visited, and he had no answer that made sense. One morning, watching his daughter play in the sunlight, he understood that protecting his heart had also meant denying it a future. He sought Isla out at one of her daytime events, standing among decorations and laughter, feeling like a man stepping into honesty for the first time. He did not promise perfection. He only offered truth, that pretending had turned real, that fear had almost cost him something precious, and that love, even fragile, was worth choosing. Isla listened, tears reflecting the daylight, and this time she did not walk away. The city did not pause for them, but something inside Arav finally did. He learned that love was not a replacement for loss, but a continuation of life, shaped by what came before. Together, they built something gentle and resilient, rooted in kindness rather than fear. And Mira grew up watching a father brave enough to open his heart again. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that love can arrive quietly and heal what we thought was broken forever, please like, comment, and share this video so more hearts can feel it too. Special request: comment below what part of this story stayed with you the most, because sometimes the bravest love stories begin with pretending and end with choosing each other in the light of day.